Cosmic Express. What can I say about it? What can I tell you about Cosmic Express? I believe I can give you overall, but not overall as usually do, like what I expect and what I didn't, what I found, what I encountered. So I'm about to talk quite a lot about the negatives. So I'm going to explain a little bit more the negatives than the positives. So before I start talking about the negatives, let me say something in advance. I like the game. We've played for 50 hours and I would continue playing if there were more levels. I'm having some issues that I'll explain in a bit, but yes, it's a good game and I recommend it with an asterisk, but I recommend it. So let me explain what the asterisk is. So I was expecting a trains game, a game that you laid out some railing and then you have to get to different points and accomplish different things. This is what I got in this game, so zero complaints. I got what I was looking for, what I asked, and what I wanted. I don't have any complaints about that. But as a game, every game has different parts. Has the sound, the level, the difficulty, the story, etc, etc. As a game, there are a few things that I think they could be more polished or improved, and it would be an even better game. It doesn't change the core because the core is solid, and it's, as I said, it's a good game. It has a solid foundation. Let me explain further. So yeah, the bottom line, the TLDR is I like the game. It's not a perfect game. I recommend it if, and let me talk about those ifs. I'm going to start with the negatives because I have 3 negatives, so it's slightly negative, quite negative, and very negative. And then I will point out a couple of things with the positives. First negative, the slightest of the negatives for me, it's the progress. Let me uncover it. So how you progress through this game. The way I see it, in a puzzle game, one of the most important aspects, even more than the music, the design, artistic design, I mean, not puzzle design, which is maybe the most important. Most important would be the puzzle design, but the second most important would be the difficulty. And that's what I'm having a bit of trouble here. In a puzzle game, for me, the curve of difficulty is more important than in other genres. I believe it needs a special attention in a puzzle game. And this game, it's a puzzle game. So the way you progress through this game, it's you do level 1 and then you have access to level 2, and then level 2 gives you access to level 3 and 4, for example. I don't remember exactly, it's not important, but it's opening up. So from 2 maybe you have access to 4 and 5, and from 3 to 6 and 7, and it keeps opening. When you finish the first constellation out of 10 that the game has, you have access to, I believe it was 2 or 3 more constellations. So what I mean is, from constellation 1, when you finish like the world 1, you don't have access to the second. You have access to the second and the third, and they are not laid out in a way that you understand this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. No, it looks like it does a favor to you, but in giving you freedom, it's messing up a little bit with the difficulty, because maybe you do world 3 before world 2. In this game they are called constellations, or at least I call them constellations. So you might do the constellations in a different order. It's not dramatic. As I said, it's the smallest of the negatives. But as a puzzle game, the way I see it, maybe it's not the same for everyone. This is just my opinion. I would prefer a tailored experience. So you give me the world 1 and I'll do it, and then give me the next one more difficult, and then the next one which is a little bit more difficult, and so on. Don't let me do it in a shuffled order, because then I'll get confused. Maybe, which is my case, we did first constellation is called Andromeda, and then you have access to 2 more called Delphinos and Vela. We did Delphinos as a second constellation, and I was reviewing the map of the game and the levels before this review, and in my mind I put them in order because that's what I felt even in the second chapter. First episode of this gameplay was only Andromeda. The second one, it has 1 or 2 levels from Andromeda, but then we start the second constellation, which was Delphinus. And it was quite more difficult than Andromeda. And then when we finished this as the second, Delphinus, we moved on to the one below, which is Bella. It was easier than Delphinus. So in my mind is what I was thinking, like, did I make a mistake? Maybe I chose number 3 before number 2 because this is the third one, but it's easier than the last. I'm confused. So this is my problem with the progress. I would have preferred that the constellations were in a sequence and you have to go through them one by one rather than keep opening and giving you option to choose which one, which is also acceptable because in the defense of the game, I believe each constellation is a game in itself, like not a game, but it has its own curve of difficulty. So doesn't matter which one you do for first or second or third, doesn't matter. Each constellation starts from level 1 being the easiest up to level 12, 13, 14, which are the hardest. So you have to look at the constellations as itself. It starts from easy to hard. Not the whole game, like every constellation is one after the other. I would have preferred the other option, to do them in a straight line, like more linear experience. It makes more sense the way I see it for a puzzle game. I appreciated that it has freedom, but it could mess up a little bit, and it messed up with me the second day because I was this game is too hard suddenly, and it's the beginning. It's constellation 2 out of 10. So what's going on? This is my first of the negatives. Now let's keep digging in because this is only getting harder. The second of the negatives, which is I was debating myself. I have a dilemma. Which one was second and which one was third? In the end, I chose as a second negative the lack of mechanics, the variety, the amount of mechanics, the things you can do or how you do them in a game. And this game has 10 constellations, which you don't know at the beginning. You have a rough idea, like 8, 12, something like that, but 10. In the end, they were 10. As soon as I knew that they were 10, I was thinking, oh, there are 10 constellations because there are 10 different mechanics. And then each constellation is justified because it has a unique mechanic, something unique that it makes it be a constellation. But this is not the case. I counted this morning before the stream, I counted the amount of mechanics and it has 10 constellations, that's clear. But for me, it has 5 mechanics, and that's being generous. I'll tell you which ones are, so you can tell me if you agree or not. So first constellation, I'll say first, second, but that's only my order, the order in which I played them. For me, first constellation was Andromeda, and this is the kind of tutorial presentation of the basic mechanic of this game, which is get the alien to the box, and you do that laying out some rails next to the alien, so you touch the alien and then you touch the box and you deliver the alien. And it's a presentation. You do that with one alien. There are 2, I think they are purple, and then within the same constellation you have a variation of that mechanic which is different color. Then you have one purple, one orange. So that's the basic. That's what you're going to be doing throughout the whole game. So counting this as one mechanic, which is the base mechanic, then we moved on to Delphinus, which is the one above. And then we found the green alien. Now there's the second mechanic, not because the color is different, because we've already seen that in Andromeda, the first one, but I count that as a new mechanic because when they leave the wagon, they leave some green substance that the other aliens don't like it, so they don't get that spot in the train. So that's a twist of that mechanic, and it felt quite more challenging than previous constellation. Then we moved to Bella, which is the one below, as a third one, and it was quite more easy than Delphinus. Bella didn't have any major new mechanic, but the only difference between Vela and Andromeda is that you have more than one wagon, which I don't count as a new mechanic, and it also has elements within the area of the puzzle where you can go with the train. They have elements that they affect like obstacles for the railing, so you can't go over those elements. I don't count that as a new mechanic because previously the aliens themselves and the boxes themselves, they can be an obstacle. You cannot go through them. So that's nothing new. It's just that the elements are inside instead of outside. They affect the gameplay, of course, but I don't see that as a new mechanic if that was the intention. And then we did Cassiopeia, the next section of 3 were Cassiopeia, Ursa Minor, and Taurus. Out of the 3, Cassiopeia, number 4, and Ursa Minor, number 5, they don't have any new mechanic compared to the previous one. They are the same as Vela. They have different color aliens, and the train has more than one wagon, and that's it. So it's the same. It's an extension. Maybe they are a little bit more difficult, but it's an extension of the first constellation, Andromeda. And the third one, or I mean the 6th one, here the red box, which doesn't have a color, it's red, but doesn't say it belongs to purple, orange, or green alien. And also it's the first time that I encountered a train with 3 wagons. I'm not counting the number of wagons as a new mechanic, but the red box is. So this is our third mechanic. First one is the different color aliens. Second is the green aliens. This is the third mechanic, the red boxes. So we are in Constellation 6 and we have 3 mechanics. So now we have 3 more. So it's the last group of 3. Perseus, Ursa Major, and Orion. Perseus introduced the black holes or portals, however you want to call them. Ursa Major, it's the same as Vela and Cassiopeia and Ursa Minor, only different color aliens and different number of wagons. Nothing new. Ursa Major. And last one of that third group is Orion, which introduced the crossings. So now the rail can go over itself in some specific times. So that's the 4th and 5th of the mechanics. Black hole / portals and the crossings. 5 mechanics. And last one, last constellation, number 10, it's Nova, which is a mix of everything you've seen before. Different color alien, crossing, portal, red boxes, everything mixed. So nothing new, but it's more challenging, it's more difficult because everything is mixed. So in 10 constellations, I counted, maybe you can count different, but I don't see more than 5 mechanics. And when you finish the last constellation, number 10, Nova, you get the black monolith, which add some rules, but it's not a new mechanic. It's just accomplish something else. It's like, no, there aren't 2 colors, there are 3 colors alien. So that's not a new mechanic, the way I see it. So why make 10 constellations if there are 5 mechanics? I don't understand. And I was expecting each constellation was justified by 1 mechanic. Again, as I said in the beginning, in having said that, that doesn't mean the game is boring, which is not. It's just fine. But that's something disappointing because why the division into constellation makes sense? I don't understand. Why not have 5 constellations? So that's the second of my negatives. And I was discussing with myself if this was the worst of the game or the thing I'm going to talk about next, because the mechanics within the game, they are really, really important and they affect the core of the game. If there aren't many mechanics, the game tends to be boring or lacking in content. This game is not boring, but it's lacking. It seems it's presented in a way that it seems like it's going to offer more than it offers in the end. So it is important to me in the majority of puzzle games. In this one, it's negative, quite negative, but it doesn't affect like really strong the end feeling and impressions you have with the game. And I was debating with myself with the third negative, which is the music. The music is not really important in this game. It doesn't directly affect the gameplay, you could play this game in silence and it'll be the same game, and maybe you enjoy it even more than with the background music. So music is not as important as the number of mechanics, the difficulty, etc, etc. But the thing that makes me put the music in this game as the worst is because the music in this game makes the game worse, in my opinion. I don't see why the music is designed the way it is. So I would like to play you the background music for this game, and then you will be able to judge yourself. So you can tell me. Let me mute the background music and I'll play the sound from the game. I'll play the menu background and one level background. So here we are in the menu. It's okay. It's like cosmic, the stars, the space. It's a filler. It doesn't have like a huge melody you will remember, you will be singing in your head while you walk on the street. Very ethereal. So that's one. That's okay because you don't spend hours and hours in the menu. Now let's go to a random level. This is what you get. I don't understand. I don't understand. If someone can explain this background music, it seems like very reminiscent of space theme. It's not literal because there's no sound in space because it's void, there's no mass, there's no matter, so the sound can be transmitted. But this is like whale sound. So this is the sample I wanted to play you. And this is again the menu. Menu is okay, but you spend hours in the hardest levels. There's no need. It's a pain. It makes the game boring because it's not entertaining. You are not engaged with this sound. I don't understand, and it makes the game worse. That's why I put it in as a third negative. Even worse than the lack of mechanics. It makes the game worse. It's either true that it makes the game worse, or I don't understand, I'm missing something. It's something in the background that it's a filler, but it's a bad filler. I can't even say that it's repetitive because it's just a wave of sound. It's so long that can't even say it's repetitive. It's super repetitive. But each loop lasts like 30 seconds. But why? Why this? Why this sound? Why this? I can't even say it's music because is it music if it doesn't have rhythm? I'm not an expert in music, but I just know that this music is very tiring. So I think my point is clear, so I'll move on. But that's my third negative. It's the music. It makes the game worse. If you play this game, mute it and play your music because you're not gonna get anything out of the game from the sound effects, which are not part of the music, sound effects are different. They are okay. When you lay the railway, it makes some sound, which is nice. When you press on top of the aliens, they make sounds as well. That's nice. Also, the end credits have a song, which is also nice. I don't have any complaint. But during the game, the background music for the levels, I don't understand. I would like to understand. If I could have the developers to explain it to me, someday we'll have. Let me have the background music back again. Nice background music. One day I was saying we'll have, I hope, interviews in the channel with the developers so we can understand these things and know more about them and know more about the inside, how to develop a game and why it is the way it is, why they took the decisions they took, so we can understand. And we can still agree or disagree, but it's different opinions. At least we understand. Understanding is not the same as agreeing. So these are my negatives. The progress, it's too open. I would have preferred a more linear experience. The lack of mechanics, they are a bit of a letdown because I was expecting more variety, and the music doesn't help in lift up the mood of the game, doesn't make it more enjoyable. Now I'm going to talk about the positives, which are two. Now you'll understand why I started with the negatives, because now I'm going to talk about specific points of the negatives with the positives that make the negative less negative. Maybe these negatives are here like 1, 2, 3, but they are not as bad as they seem. Music is not included. Music is definitely the worst of the game. I even refuse to call it music. Okay, moving on. The first of the negatives is the positives. Too much talking about negatives that I am switched. First is something that I've already mentioned, which is the difficulty. Again, in which way is positive, the difficulty? So the game is open. The game lets you choose the order in which you tackle each constellation. That's okay. It's not a big deal. It's not a drama. But as I said before, each constellation has its own curve of difficulty, starting from easier to ending in more difficult. And that's what I've liked of the difficulty. That's good. At the same time, it gives you freedom to choose the difficulty level it's contained within each constellation. So still, it's open and gives you freedom, which I don't like in this case, but in the defense of the game, even though it's open and it gives you freedom, the difficulty, the curve of difficulty, it's quite contained within each constellation. So it's not that big of a deal, the openness and the freedom. And finally, my last of the positives, which is something slightly positive. It's, as I said in the very beginning, the difficulty in a puzzle game, in this a pure puzzle game, it's very, very important. And for me, I had fun with this game because it was challenging. I felt it was slightly over average for puzzle game from my perspective, slightly harder than average, and that's why I enjoyed it a lot, because it was constantly challenging. But not every player has the same dedication that I have, so they might feel like a barrier. This slightly over average level of difficulty might be a unsurmountable wall for them, and they can't go through, they can't skip a level because there's no skip. So there's an option in the game that you can not skip, but unlock all the levels. In case you are having difficulty with one, the developers thought that, oh, let's not make this like a game stopper. Don't make this level, just this level that for some reason you don't find enjoyable. You can't solve it, whatever the reason. Let's not make you stop playing. You have the option to unlock this level and continue playing in case you want. I don't think it's going to be the case, this that I just described, because each level is more difficult than previous. If you have difficulties solving level 5-1, you are going to have a harder time solving 5-2. So at least the option is there. That's why it's the list of the positives. I don't think it's going to be very useful, But maybe I think that because it wasn't my case. Maybe it's your case that you are stuck into one level and you can't continue for some reason I can't foresee. And then you would give a good use to this option to unlock all levels. Or maybe you don't want to play all levels, but you want to just have a glimpse of mechanics, or maybe you are playing not as a player but as a journalist. You want to review the game, you want to see the end game, but you want to spend 50 hours like we did playing the game because you do it for work. The option is there. You use it if you want. We didn't use it, but it's good that it's there and you are not forced to use it. That's all of my positives and negatives for Cosmic Express. And now is the time, now is the moment. Final score incoming. So, in having said this, my final score for Cosmic Express is a paper map out of 10, because a paper map, same as in this game, it doesn't tell you where to go. It gives you freedom. It gives you everything at once, and I would have preferred that instead of letting me go wherever I want to go, that it would tell me where to go. Where is the first place that I should visit and the second place that I should go through after the first, and I would have appreciated a more tailored or linear experience. Same as with a map, all the information is there. You do with it whatever you want. And in having said that, the game is fun. The game has very good puzzle design, which is also important, and difficulty is there. So it has a good level of difficulty, average level and curve of difficulty, but again we go back to the order of the constellations. In having a more tailored order, it would have improved even more the experience. Same as with a paper map. The game, I feel, is lacking on mechanics. A map is lacking on modern features that digital maps have. So this game is lacking in mechanics. It has 10 constellations and it only has, we've counted 5 different mechanics. So why 10 constellations then? Make 5 constellations. Something I don't understand. And what else can I tell you? It also is accessible. Its basic mechanic is super easy to understand, and from there it builds up. It worries that you get stuck, so it has the option to unlock all levels, and I think that's all I can tell you. So to me it felt like using an old paper map. Now that they are not that common, we use maps on digital screens and they are interactive and you can use them in a very different way than old paper maps. This game felt like a paper map. It lacks in features and it doesn't really tell you the order in where you should go. The information is there, you go where you want to go. It gives you freedom, but maybe it's not freedom what you need. So there you go. I'm happy with this score. I'm happy. So let me know what you think of Cosmic Express. If you've seen the gameplay, did you like it? You didn't like it? Why? Do you agree with my opinion, or why you don't agree? And what do you think about the final score? What would be your final score?